the other story here is that the Wizards finally, I know it's not sexy if you're an NBA fan, but the Wizards have built a team for the last 10, 15 years that plays middling 500 basketball. Oh, yeah, once in a while they make the playoffs as an 8 seed. But finally, Michael Winger, who is the newly hired president of the Wizards, got the go-ahead from the owner, Ted Leonsis, to tear apart this team, tear it down to the studs. So Bradley Beal's gone. Kyle Kuzma opted out. Kristaps Porzingis has now been traded. And they have a bunch of dudes, and this is them starting absolutely from scratch, getting rid of all this money and saying, okay, it's time for a true rebuild. Not let's keep Bradley Beal, sign him to this dumb contract, and then also bring in Kristaps Porzingis where we're mildly competitive. Now they finally get to start over, and they needed this.
Yeah, you know who's really sweating right now? Chris Paul, because he's sitting around and looking and saying, oh my God, did I sign up to be a babysitter? I thought I was going to be a point guard, but instead I'm going to be teaching and running clinics for all of these young players. Isn't he still with the Wizards? Because wasn't the knowledge saying that, like, okay, they're going to take him and they're going to move him somewhere else, but he hasn't moved just yet. So I'm wondering
he's not playing
if they find a place for him.
There's no way he will suit up. He will end up sitting out before he plays for the Washington Wizards. So what will happen is he'll be traded. Washington will probably try to get some sort of capital for him, even if it's a little bit of draft capital, or they'll just waive the guy or buy him out. Whatever it is, there's no way CP3 at this point in his career will end up suiting up as a Washington Wizard. In fact, I would not be surprised if he ends up with the Lakers. We keep hearing that he and LeBron are banana boat buddies. They love each other. They've been friends for a long time. Can't you just see CP3? Because he's got some guaranteed money coming to him, a lot of guaranteed money. So what can happen is if the Wizards don't trade him and they waive him, the Lakers can sign him for the veterans minimum or whatever it is if he gets waived and add him to the roster. And I would not be surprised to see LeBron, CP3, and AD give it the old geriatric run.
I know. I feel for him because I thought the exact same thing. I was like, oh, well, he's not going to be in Washington very long. But, like, they just made a deal, and he was not included. So, like, how many deals are the Wizards going to make without, like, Chris Paul being the main guy? And I know it doesn't really matter for time's sake because, you know, they're going to draft who they're going to draft. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to trade away Chris Paul to get the picks that you want. But still, I'm starting to think that maybe he's getting a little nervous, or he's saying, you know what, maybe it's a full-time State Farm career for me. Back to Chris Paul.
Trevor Lawrence at 14-1. I love that play. Love that play. They made the playoffs last year. He had that wasted year with Urban. Not his fault. He is only going to get better, and now he plays for a legitimate head coach. And when you look at the guys that he has, Etienne in the backfield who can catch passes, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. Now they have Calvin Ridley. For a guy who has so much upside, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is even close to being the quarterback that he can be. And now that there's an organization in Jacksonville where the right pieces are in place and they don't have that Urban Meyer dumpster fire any longer, this is a team that's only going to get better, particularly Lawrence. And at 14-1, why not take a shot on him?
Yeah, I like that a lot, especially somebody who is the face of the offense, because you need to put up gaudy stats in order to win MVP. I think the Jags are fully capable of throwing the ball a ton this year. And like you said, Trevor Lawrence is just getting better. I know last year it was a pretty good stat line, but nowhere near MVP caliber. 25 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, but also over 4,000 yards passing. So we know that the Jags are probably going to rely heavily on their big investment. He was the number one overall pick for a reason. So I think that's a solid play. Did it shock you at all that Aaron Rodgers is the same price? Because he's in a new offense. He has much better weapons. I will say it's hard to go from team to team and immediately click and, you know, not have some kind of feeling out period. But at this price, do you have any interest and somebody who just won the MVP award a year ago?
I think yes. I think considering the price, I think there are other names on the list, and clearly the odds bear this out that have a much better chance. But at 14-1, this is a guy who I think Aaron will be rejuvenated just based on the fact that he's finally somewhere where he wants to be. He has weapons. The Jets are going to be a very good team this year. So I think with Aaron Rodgers, the physical talent is there. At this point in his career, it is really a mental game with him, in that you have to satiate him. You just have to keep him happy, and that's one thing the Packers just couldn't do. He was perpetually kind of unhappy with either his contract or his weapons or who the Packers were drafting, whatever it was, and he was maybe distracted by his personal life, whatever. Now he's in a place where he seems, at the very least, to be extremely thrilled to be there. And I think when you're talking about a veteran quarterback who can be very emotional, that's of the ultimate importance. So at 14-1, why not? Yeah, I think it's a great price.
There are other ways to bet on the draft other than just draft position. There's a bet for Victor Wembanyama, Rookie of the Year, at -165. It seems like a solid play. If this guy is the generational talent that we've been told that he is, wouldn't it feel like a great bet for Wemby to win Rookie of the Year? But I'll say this. Wasn't Chet Holmgren looking like the lock to win Rookie of the Year? Was it last year or the year before? Then he got hurt. So does that talk you off? Wemby, -165 Rookie of the Year?
No, it doesn't. And I know what you're saying, because Holmgren, when he was in the summer league before he got injured, he was tearing it up. He looked great for the Thunder. And by the way, just as an aside, Chet Holmgren is eligible for Rookie of the Year because he didn't play last season. So technically he will be a rookie this season. So that's a guy to keep an eye on as well. I think for Wemby, the hype train is just getting started. It is just getting started. We've heard a lot about this guy, but now that he's about to officially become an NBA player, I think -165 is very, very good. And also, as it usually is the case in situations like this, he's going to a team that will play him immediately, and he has a head coach in Greg Popovich who has coached David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and I know he's a different kind of big man, but when you have a Hall of Fame head coach to teach you along the way, to me, I think -165 is a bet I would play.
Yeah, I think so too. Even though, is there any way you could wait till at least the first few games of the season just to make sure that he's healthy and playing? Or do you think this number is going to go way up?
I think it's going to go way up. And yes, injury is always something you have to consider in any bet. But if he goes to the summer league, if he plays even in the summer league and shows out and has a good game, oh man, you're going to be laying $5, -500, -600 for him. So I think -165. And by the way, those odds have actually shortened somewhat. Just last week, Wembanyama was -225. So now he's at -165. So this is actually a good spot to grab him because I can't see those odds getting any shorter than this.